if they come to your co-op with that kind of action, there is a process by which the change, they can have an interim management committee, but it has to go through a legal process, which is in the law, enshrined in the law. All right, I will not explain it here, but they must do that. Yeah. And if they have not done that, then you need to seek legal redress to have that matter dealt with. Because in every facet of life, and they're saying that they're not racist. Yeah. You know, they're not giving public servants a decent living wage. Yeah. They're taking food and money in bags to secluded communities. They're giving one side $250,000 when they've already gotten. And you are saying that we must sit back and accept all of these, you know, atrocities that you're committing against us. Even a man was asking me, you know, by the old girls' school in Coven John, you know, that road there, how many houses they got there? I say only 3, because I know they did the story. He said, you know, they do the whole street for 3 houses. And then he mentioned a whole lot of places where you just got a few Indian people living there, but they're doing all of the roads and so on in the communities, and black people's communities are being left. When the APNU was in power, our major concern with the APNU was that the very community that the PPP is engaging now, that they were in there doing roads, doing bridges, and left the African community out. That is one of the major dissatisfactions. So they can't accuse the APNU of racism on that level. But they have come now, all right, and they are, again, left black people out of the equation.
I want to go back to this statement, because you see, the WPA, you know, we're very clear. They make a lot of weather that they're the elective government, they're the current government, and to try to argue for change. They make a lot of weather that we are constitutional democracy and that you got to participate in elections. No, we in WP is not fool. They can't elect you on democracy, man. They can't elect you WP upon democracy. You know, we got people who write books upon them subjects. You know, and as an African person, I know Africans struck one of the earliest blows for modern democracy in Guyana when we break the chains of slavery. But Nandalal and Ali seems to believe that the march for Guyanese democracy began with the PPP. And only they got the right to claim democracy. But the point I want to make is that nothing in the Constitution prevent any section of the citizenry of Guyana acting as a political party, acting as a trade union, acting as an association of people, to raise in the political discourse of the country the change of the governance system of the country. That is your constitutional right. And what Ali and the company seems to forget, that every political advancements we made in this country, okay, come out of constitutional struggle where people had to take to the streets, press the British and the colonial powers, okay, demonstrate by the thousands that they want these changes. There's how we win those changes. And it never stopped throughout the history of the country, basically.
Not only Guyana.
No, yeah, but about Guyana right now.
Each of the world.
Yeah. So there is nothing that prevents any section of this country to say to the nation, look, this arrangement that we had, we feel them working, and we want to revisit it.
The WPA wants to make it clear that the local government elections offer us a good opportunity to start the resistance. We are being asked to participate in an election which the PPP, dominated GECOM, has been laying the groundwork for our defeat. And they will more than rig. Super rigging. And sisters and brothers, we will be disposing tremendous political energy in that campaign, both for nothing. We are the Working People's Alliance. Wish to suggest to you, and we will suggest it formally to our opposition partners, that instead of mobilizing to participate in the elections on election day, we mobilize to turn, it is the 17th of June, whatever is the date in June, to a day of national resistance and African uprising. You know, sisters and brothers, we have to be serious. So we in the WPA is clear. So we come to you to tell you to get battle ready. We come to tell you that freedom is not far away. We come to tell you that we will ensure that our brothers and sisters in uniform do the right thing, and this thing will be over quickly. Thank you and good night.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Beep, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbors, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Rickford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time, the people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Quindon Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
you conniving morning. Then you had your pocket full. In a bill tell me morning. Now because you money, all you hustle for tell me morning.
Yes, morning, neighbor.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I don't want you conniving morning. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. Neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk for. A 2 pound note and a guilda piece. A 2 pound note and a guilda piece. A 2 pound note and a guilda piece. This is all the money that me walk for.
I said, morning, neighbor.
Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, neighbor, morning. Morning, I don't want you conniving morning.
Oh, Joseph.
For me.
The WPA wants to make it clear that the local government elections offer us a good opportunity to start the resistance. We are being asked to participate in an election which the PPP, dominated GECOM, has been laying the groundwork for defeat. And they will more than rig. Super rigging. And sisters and brothers, we will be disposing tremendous political energy in that campaign, both financial, human and otherwise. For what? For nothing. We are the Working People's Alliance wish to suggest to you, and we will suggest it formally to our opposition partners, that instead of mobilizing to participate in the elections on election day, we mobilize to turn, it is the 17th of June, whatever is the date in June, to a day of national resistance and African uprising. You know, sisters and brothers, we have to be serious. So we in the WPA is clear. So we come to you to tell you to get battle ready. We come to tell you that freedom is not far away. We come to tell you that we will ensure that our brothers and sisters in uniform do the right thing, and this thing will be over quickly. Thank you and good night.
Morning, neighbor, morning. They're not like me conniving morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is now 7 minutes past the 7 o'clock hour on the 13th day of March in the year 2023. Yes, it's a couple of days after the WPA had a big meeting on Buxton Line Top. WPA did what? 3 meetings last week and the whole country in uproar. Hola, Roy. How y'all pass your weekend? Y'all had a good weekend? Hope y'all had a good weekend. I hope you rested well. I hope you really, sat back and reflect on what this country is. And I also hope that you give careful thought to what you heard over the weekend. Listen, everybody, the grandmother, the grandchild, everybody came out against the WPA this weekend. A whole set of, well, it's not everybody, it's really the friends and cronies. It's all of them who call themselves civil society and so on and so forth. They come out. I don't know where they've been all the time. I don't know where they've been when Woodley Park was happening. I don't know where they've been when people were being stoned, people's children were being stoned and so on. Right? I don't know where they've been. I don't know where they are when people are posting on social media that them black man must be poisoned and so on and so forth. I don't know where they are. But yeah, don't worry yourself. It's Monday morning. And guess what? We got a brand new song for you. Brand new song for you. Thank you to the brother. Is it Rory? I think that's the name. Sometimes I don't hear good at night when I want to sleep. But we got a powerful one. It's called Guyanese Morning Time. Listen up. New tunes.
Guyana and Guyanese. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time.
With us, you know. It's a different Monday morning. Mondays are made for champions.
Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go
Guyanese Morning Time, intelligence and knowledge run the front line. Welcome to the program this morning. This morning we have Dr. Hines on with us, you know. It's a different Monday morning. Mondays are made for champions. And so this morning we have Dr. Hines. I will share with you the Working People's Alliance statement which was issued over the weekend. All y'all, well, listen, the PPP got their own platform. They could share their statements. But I trust that you would have heard their statements and so on, talking about sedition and treason and all kinds of things and racism and terrorism and so on. But I want you to hear for yourselves. I want you to hear for yourselves. What is it the PPP and their friends and cronies going wild over? Right? Wild.
The WPA wants to make it clear that the local government elections offer us a good opportunity to start the resistance. We are being asked to participate in an election which the PPP, dominated GECOM, has been laying the groundwork for our defeat. And they will more than rig, super rigging. And sisters and brothers, we will be disposing tremendous political energy in that campaign, both financial, human and otherwise. For what? For nothing. We are the Working People's Alliance wish to suggest to you, and we will suggest it formally to our opposition partners, that instead of mobilizing to participate in the elections on election day, we mobilize to turn, it is the 17th of June, whatever is the date in June, to a day of national resistance and African uprising. You know, sisters and brothers, we have to be serious. So we in the WPA, it's clear. So we come to you to tell you to get battle ready. We come to tell you that freedom is not far away. We come to tell you that we will ensure that our brothers and sisters in uniform do the right thing, and this thing will be over quickly. Thank you and good night.
Guyana and Guyanese.
Get battle ready. That's the message of the Working People's Alliance. Let the local government election day be a day of national resistance. Dr. Hines, welcome to the program. How are you doing, buddy?
Good morning. I'm fine, thanks.
Good morning to you. You know, strange, you know, we had to bring you out of bed. Monday mornings, you're not usually in Buxtonian morning time. What is it that makes you have to come here today, man? What's going on?
Well, you have to tell me. Is you in charge of the morning time?
well, listen. Last week we did the last couple of days, perhaps about 10 days or so, we did a number of meetings. I think the first meeting we did was in Golden Grove. And then we went to, no, we started with Mocha, right? So we had WPA, that is, had a public meeting in Mocha, we had meeting in Golden Grove, we had meeting in Den Amstel, and then we came to Buxton. There have been a lot of developments from then to now. I got word this morning, for example, that since we had a meeting in Den Amstel, the PPP and their friends apparently went to Den Amstel and was sharing out a box of food and $3,000. That's the worth of people in those communities, right? A box of food and $3,000. Yesterday was Buxton Mash, sponsored in part by the Ministry of Culture in Buxton.
But most importantly, over the weekend, following the meeting in Buxton, we've seen a whole lot of statements coming out for some Anandlal, which condemn the utterances of Takumo Ogunsi and label them seditious and libelous and treasonous and all kinds of things. I've seen statements from online statements from people like Roshan Khan. I've seen statements from the Georgetown Chamber of Commerce and the local business fraternity, and a whole host of people have been issuing statements condemning the Working People's Alliance, condemning Takumo Ogunsi for his utterances. Notably, Annette says that Takumo is a remnant of the past. I heard General what's his name? General last night saying WP has no following, so it doesn't matter what Takumo say. How did you react to those statements coming out from?
Well, which one? I mean, you have to ask me. I mean, there are a host of
so
statements.
I'm just saying them. I'm almost sure that you have seen all of them. Ali.
Yes, but
Ali,
I mean,
Ali said that
they've said different things.
Right.
They've said different things. I mean, you know, I can't go through each of them. But what is it you want me to address?
Well, generally, what is this concern and this fear of the PPP? Because Takumo says, listen, the elections are going to be rigged, and we are saying, listen, use the election day as a day of national resistance. We ain't got time to waste with the election because they're gonna rob we anyhow. And on this day of national resistance, the WPA will ensure that the brothers and sisters in uniform do the right thing. Right?
Well, I mean, that statement is part of a larger number of statements from our platform. The fact of the matter is when the head of state, the attorney general, the head of the army, the private sector commission, and all the others have come out against a party making statements, it means that something of value is being threatened by that party. That is, we, the WPA, are threatening something of value for the PPP. Because a government doesn't jump up like that and start carrying on. The last time they carried on like that was in August last year, 7 months ago, when Coffee 250 came out and said Guyana was an emerging apartheid state and we need to resist it. And they came out swinging like this, and 7 months later they have come out swinging. So Coffee 250 and now the WPA have threatened something of value of the PPP.
And what might that thing of value be? Because I noticed in the president's statement, for example, they're particularly concerned about Takumo Ogunsi saying, listen, you people in the armed forces, don't turn guns on your own people, turn them in the right direction. What is threatened of, what of value is being threatened for them?
Thank you very much. That question I can answer. What is being threatened that is of value to the PPP are a couple of things. The PPP, since it has come to office, has been carrying on a program of ethno-racial attacks on the African Guyanese community. They have not been sharing the oil wealth equally. We know that. We go through that every day on this program. They have not been doing that. Second, they have been using the police to attack the African Guyanese community. The police have been charging people recklessly. We saw what happened to the young men and women in Golden Grove. Young men and one young woman, Robin Simon. So they've been using the police to bring charges against people, reckless charges. We saw what they did with the people at GECOM. Lowenfield, Roxanne Myers, and the other workers at GECOM that they perceive to be opposition supporters. They've charged Valda Lawrence. So they've been using the police to bring these reckless, baseless charges against African Guyanese. They've been using the police to attack the African Guyanese community extrajudicially. We saw the police killing, or in Boston, Peter Headley and Quindon Bacchus. The PPP has been using the police to oversee the demolition of black people's homes. First a success, and that success, it was mostly black people. There were some Indians there too. But in Mocha, it was predominantly Africans. We saw the demolition of people's stores, people's business places in front of the hospital. We saw the demolition at Linden. And in all these cases, they've been using the police either to carry out these offenses, or they have been using the police to oversee these things. So they've developed what they think to be a praxis whereby the police will protect them as they carry out their attacks on the opposition, and by opposition, mainly African Guyanese people. They have come to the conclusion that the way they're going to do it is that they're going to use the armed forces politically. So what they've done is that they've politicized the armed forces, or attempt to do so. That is the big thing of value. So they can carry on and carry out all these things against black people, and then use the armed forces as a form of fear. I forgot the murder of the Henry Boys, West Coast Bobbies. That happened immediately after they came to power. And of course, Harry Singh was also murdered, ostensibly because he may have seen what went on. We have seen, even before that, we saw the stoning of African-American children, African Guyanese children, the West Coast Bobbies. And so there has been this pattern of attacks by the armed forces against African Guyanese people on behalf of the government. Now, we feel that that attempt to drive fear in the African Guyanese community using the armed force is wrong. And so therefore, as a party, the WPA has decided that we are no longer going to tolerate it. We are no longer going to tolerate it. They are glad when the opposition forces are forced to condemn the armed forces. So they send the armed forces to carry out their political biddings. And then we condemn the armed forces. So they get the best of both worlds. They get the armed forces to carry out their biddings. And then when we attack the armed forces, they're saying, look, you see, it's black people killing, it's not Indian people killing you all people. So why y'all are making problems and making all kinds of utterances? Well, we have decided that, look, we are going to set the record straight. We are going to embrace those members of the police force because the vast majority of them do not shoot at our people. It is the rogue elements in the force, some at the very top of the police force, and of course, the young people in the force that they are using to do the killings and the other biddings. And we in the WPA decide somebody has to stop dancing around this question and go straight to it. And so we decided that we are going to call for civil disobedience and non-cooperation with this government by opposition supporters and friends of the opposition. And part of the civil disobedience is that we are saying to members of the armed force, do not shoot your own people. Do not turn the guns at your people who are engaged in legitimate protest. That is our message. That is Brother Takuma's message. We do not want the police and the army to fight for us. We are fighting for them because they don't have unions. They don't have all of that to fight for them. There are fathers and mothers who have to feed their children, and they're getting 8%. And so we are fighting for them. We do not want them to fight for us. So this nonsense that Ogunse is calling on the army to join uprising against the government, no. We are saying to them that when we resist and push back against this government, do not turn your guns against us, because you are brothers and sisters. When you go back into your community and you don't have milk for your children, you have to turn to all your neighbors. And that you are Guyanese citizens of African descent before you become police and army. And we are saying, when you put that uniform on with the gun in your hand, do not shoot at your thing. And if you do not shoot at us, if you do not shoot at your people, we are able to deal with these culprits and brutes who are in power. Because without the army and police, they are toothless. The PPP government. They may have their vigilantes and gunmen and things who are going to work for them, but they depend on the army and police to fight the opposition. And we in the opposition are saying to the army and police, do not shoot against your brothers and sisters. And if you don't shoot against us when we are protesting, we will deal with this government. We'll stop them from taking the advantage on that people that they have been taking. So, after 3 years of playing around, we have signaled that there is at least one political force in this country that has decided to take this issue on. And we are saying that after 4 meetings, because we decided that we have to come to the root, and after 4 meetings, we have accomplished what we set out to do. We've gotten the head of state, we have gotten the attorney general, we have gotten the head of the armed forces to understand what we're saying. That after today, when you go into our communities, you know that you're not going into slaves. You know that you're going into human beings. And you're going into human beings that if you murder one more of us, if you continue to distribute this wealth unfairly, if you continue what you've been doing for the last 3 years, it's no longer business as usual. Because we have said to the African Guyanese community that you have to engage in self-activity for your self-liberation. That is, we have said to them, engage in civil disobedience and non-cooperation. That's the message. The message is not to know army and police. We don't want army and police to fight for us. We are capable as a community of fighting for ourselves. All our people want is for the leaders to stop pussyfooting around these issues while their children die, while their homes are being demolished. And so, in a sense, what the news should be, and what the PPP knows that they're going to lose. They're going to lose the ability that they have had over the last 3 years to strut around our community like the owners. It has stopped now. It has stopped now. What they're seeking to do is to punish the WP for having the courage, because that is what, as leaders, we have lacked these 3 years. The courage to tell it like it is. To say to the armed forces, you've got guns in your hands. The people who are being oppressed are people like you. And you need to turn those guns away from your people. And what the PPP realizes by telling our brothers and sisters in uniform, turn your guns away from your people, that we are taking away the protection that they have had through the last 3 years. That is why they carry on. For them, that is terrorism. For them, that is treason. To them, that is all the bad things. And they, of course, get their cronies and some people who have not listened to the context in which Brother Ogunse spoke. They didn't listen to the context. They come out and they condemn this and condemn that and condemn the other. What we in the WP have sought to do, and I repeat, is to lay down the line in our community to our people and to say, you all have got to fight back from today. And we're not asking you all for boots on the ground and all of that. That will come in time. I know we on this program, I've been fighting for 3 years with people about boots on the ground. What we have to do is to signal to this government that you have to stop that nonsense. And here is a political force that is prepared to talk to our people and to tell them they've got to engage in self-activity and self-defense, and then talk to the armed forces and say, turn those guns another way. And once you do that, and you take on these brutes, they run away like cowards. Cowards who are strong when they have the state forces behind them. Now that we have spoken to our people in the armed forces directly, and to say, no more of that, no more of that. They're running around like bullies whose little sticks, and in this case, they're not little sticks because the police force and the army and them have guns. But they're running because they know that we have decided to take on that challenge. And so here is this 4-man party or 3-man party that they say we have done what no other political force has been able to done in the last year. And that is to point our fingers in your face and say, no more, you're not going to do that. So now they're running around, oh, we're causing treason, and we're causing this, and we're causing that. After the Buxton meeting, there's no longer business as usual in Guyana.
A lot of people seem to believe that the PPP will charge Takumo Vansi.
That is their business. And our people should not be concerned about whether they will charge, because that is part of the problem that the PPP has. People are frightened that they will be charged and they will be this. And so they've immobilized our people. If they want to lock up Takumo, lock him up. Lock him up. But I can tell you that if you put your finger and lock Takumo up, we are going to escalate further than we are now. At this point, we have asked our people to engage in non-cooperation and civil disobedience. We have asked our people not to cooperate with this government. We have asked the armed forces not to point their guns at our people. If you want to continue, at this point we are saying, we have laid down the line. We, the WP, have drawn a line in the sand. Whether the other opposition parties want to come along with us, that's their business, right? We are saying we are watching. We want Ipadaji money to be given back to them. We are watching. We are watching to see what you will do. Will you go back into the black community and demolish homes? We are watching to see whether you will do that. We are watching to see if you're going to continue trumped up charges against our people, and that includes charges against Ogunse. We are watching to see whether the police is going to go back into the black community and kill people. We have thrown down the gauntlet. If you continue to do those, we will have to issue another directive to our people. For now, we have asked our people to engage in civil disobedience. Do not disobey this government where it's possible. Do your work. If you are working in the government and the state, do your work. But don't do any work other than illegal, than your legal work. If they force you to do things against you, will go slow. Find ways and means not to carry out those orders. Use your money as a form of civil disobedience. You notice the private sector commission has come out. Well, those businesses that are part of the private sector commission must be punished. And the way you punish them is spend your money wisely. Because they cannot be coming out and attacking your leaders who are protecting you and want your money to go and spend your money to make them rich and to give them money to give back to the PPP to oppress you. So part of the civil disobedience is to spend your money wisely. First of all, spend your money in your community. And what your community can produce, and you have to go outside of your community, spend it selectively. If you must buy from people of other ethnic groups, buy from poor people, buy from poor vendors, buy from ordinary vendors. Those merchants in the private sector commission that have been upholding this government in carrying on in this reckless and lawless way, they must not get your money. You must punish them. So in the civil disobedience, punish those who are punishing you. And if, as I said, we are making it clear, if Party G must get back their money. No more black people must be killed in our community. This business of chasing black people out of Indian villages must stop. And you must begin to share that wealth. Begin to share that wealth equally. And we are monitoring the WP. We are monitoring you. And if we see you continue in your same old ways, we'd have to issue another directive to our people. Not directive, but to issue another form of political action to our people.
And that's treasonous behavior.
Well, Brother Kudaki, I don't care about those things. And in the WP, I don't care. We are no longer negative. This negative thing and complaining and complaining and complaining. The game has changed. We have changed the game. And that is why Ali came out crying, Nandalal came out crying, begging the police to lock us up, and all those kinds of things. That is why the brother chair of the armed forces, they've forced him to come out. Let me talk to that brother. Brother Bess, you are an African Guyanese, Brother Bess. You were born an African Guyanese. You weren't born a soldier, a police, or chairman of the armed forces. And you are wrong. The armed forces are not apolitical. Apolitical mean there's a citizen who's disinterested in politics. The armed forces cannot be disinterested. The armed forces are a political institution. It's the arm of the state, the coercive arm of the state. How the hell can you be apolitical, Brother Bess? Stop that nonsense. You've been to school. You've been to school, and if they write that nonsense to you, you ought to have told them, look, take back this nonsense that you're putting in my name. The army and the police are political institutions. Constitutionally, they are. They're not apolitical. Apolitical is for a citizen who is not interested in politics. We said such a person is apolitical. How the hell can an institution of state be apolitical? Brother Bess, you know better. You went to school. The armed forces are a political institution. What we want from you, Brother Bess, is for you to say that the armed forces are non-partisan. They're political because they are the coercive arm of the state. But they must be non-partisan. That is, no political party ought to be able to instruct them to do political things. And that's what we want to hear from you. And when you're talking about inciting ethnic division, you need to talk to all political parties. Don't point your finger at one political party and be talking to WP. You ought to say, as the head of the armed forces, I want to say to political activists of all parties, keep the peace. Don't point your finger. You're on the one hand saying that you're not political, and then you're making political statements about racial incitement. Stop it. You know better. Damn better. You are not a partial political force. You are impartial. And if you are to say anything, answer us. Are you going to order the armed forces to turn their gun on black people? That is the issue. And you must say that clearly to all parties, that I am not going to order the armed forces, the police or the army, to turn their guns against citizens. You don't, you, Mr. Best, you have no business what a policeman does when he goes home to Golden Grove or wherever and takes off that uniform. When he takes off that uniform, he's a citizen like every other citizen. When he takes off that uniform, you can't tell him how he must conduct himself and who he must be friends with. And I want you, Mr. Best, to be concerned about the wages and salary for the police, better wages. Put your energies there and stop pointing your finger at your fellow African Guyanese. For too long, you all have behaved in this nonsensical way. Whenever the African Guyanese government is in power as the coalition, you all do your job. The minute these PPP come to power, you all feel that you all have to be political and pointing your finger and threatening people like me. Cut it out. Cut it out. Do your job as head of the armed forces impartially. Leave me and Ogunse and Aubrey Norton and others. Leave us to do our constitutional job of pushing back against government excesses. That's your job. Your job is not to threaten me. And I hope you get this message because I know they're watching me and they're taping me and they give you this message. Your brother David Hines is speaking to you here this morning. That I love you, Brother Des, but stop being a little boy. Stop being let these people use you as a little boy, sorry, not being a little boy. Stop these little boys from using you against your own people. The armed forces is not apolitical. The armed forces is apolitical. You ought to have told them that is nonsense than to put something like that out in your name. We love you, brother. And we love all our brothers in the armed forces. And we have laid down the line. Not one more African Guyanese must be killed extrajudicially in our country.
Dr. Hines, you mentioned Aubrey Norton. I noticed in Ali's statement he belabored the point that Aubrey Norton was on the same platform with Ogunse, and he failed to condemn the statement by Ogunse, etc. This belaboring of that point, in my mind, follows previous articles I've seen where they basically said, listen, there's a wedge between the WP and the PPP, the PNC, or they're trying to put a wedge between the WP and the PNC. How significant was the presence of Aubrey Norton on that platform, and why Ali is so upset?
Well, I don't know about the significance of Aubrey Norton on the platform. I know about the significance of the president mentioning it. It is significant, as you're saying, that the president mentioned it, because the plan is to contain Norton and the PNC, to get Norton and the PNC to behave a certain way, to trap Norton and the PNC. You see, they're saying that, look, man, if you want to win an election, you can't win an election because Africans are not the majority. And so in order to win, you have to have crossover votes. You have to get PPP votes. But you're not going to get PPP votes if you speak a certain language. They call it narrative and discourses. You're not going to get PPP crossover votes if you take up the victimhood of your people. If you decide to protest what they did in Mocha, you're not going to get Indian crossover votes. If you decide to protest the killings, you're not. If you come with this black thing, once you take up the suffering of your black people, you're not going to get crossover votes. So what they're doing is to trying to get the PNC to make a choice. To make a choice between standing up and protecting and defending your people or crossover votes. You see, these people are tricksters. And what the bubble is for is because they try to dangle that in front of the WP. And we say very clearly, no, for us, there's no choice. We are doing both. We are fighting for free and fair election. But we are not tying crossover votes to the dignity of black people. That is, we are not sacrificing the dignity of black people for a few crossover votes. As far as we are concerned in the WPA, keep your crossover votes. Because you're just being hypocrites. Today you tell the PNC, tone down your language, Mr. Norton. And if you tone it down, you can win an election with crossover vote. And the minute you tell him that, the next minute you turn to Indian people, Burnham was a devil. The PNC rigging elections. So of course, you're telling the PNC, you will get crossover votes if you tone down. And then you turn to them over there. Burnham is a devil. The PNC can rig election. They can't govern this country. They should. So you're trying to trap the PNC while you're telling Indian people, do not vote for those devils. You're telling the PNC, you got to get some Indian votes to win. WPA sees through that trick. And we're not playing that game. We're not playing that game. So you all can say that we don't believe in electoral this and elect. That's your business. We believe in elections. But we believe that when you beat down black people, when you beat down and you drive fear in them, what you are doing is voter suppression. Because you're trying to get black people so beaten down that they will become disinterested in politics and they wouldn't go out and vote. We are fighting you on that. We are fighting you on that. Because that is part of election rigging. And so the fact that you are trying to say that David Hines and WPN Ogunse and Amsterdam and others, we are pushing Aubrey Norton to confrontation. You all are pushing black people to confrontation, and you all want Aubrey Norton and the PNC to stand idly back and do nothing. Well, that's the PNC business. I'm not getting into that. I'm saying whether the WPA is one person or 1,000 persons, we know that we have enough voice in the Guyanese community that when we speak, and we speak to the hearts and minds of our people, you have to jump on your platform and start crying and threatening. You know why? Because we have some clout in the Guyanese community. And I say that as a person who don't boast politically. They thought that when we went to the street corners, nobody was going to be bothering with us. But we went to the street corners, Guyanese people came out to listen to us. And you know what? Social media, say simultaneously, thousands of others are listening to us. And they heard the message. And the message to them is stop it now. Stop it now.
As a counter, I've seen a lot of attempts to make the WPA a racist bunch of black men because we stand on the side of the oppressed African Guyanese in this era. What do you say to those who benefited
nothing
from
I say nothing to them. I don't have time for nonsense right now. We have no time for nonsense. And that is nonsense.
Coming out of the, well, you say it's PNC business, but sometimes I like to talk about PNC business. We've seen statements coming out of the PNC. I want to watch you, I say, zero in on that one particular, well, let me don't zero in on any particular one. But there have been some statements coming out of the PNC, 4MP, former GS and so on, basically criticizing Norton for not condemning. Is as a rift, as the PPP successfully created a rift in the PNC over this?
I do not know, my brother, and I'm not commenting on that. I'm getting into no business where I am going to be caught condemning opposition people. There are opposition members, some members of the PNC, who've put out statements. It is their democratic right, and I am not going to fight them. I may not agree with them, but I ain't putting 1 ounce of energy in fighting them. I know where the fight is. They do not instruct the police to kill African people. Those Indian brothers and sisters in the PNC, they do not instruct the police to demolish black people's homes. They do not share our our wealth unequally and inequitably. And so therefore I will not attack them. I do not agree with some of what I have heard. I don't even think some of them listen to what Ogunse said. Some PNC members got in contact with me and they asked for me to send them exactly what Ogunse said, and I thought that was respectful. There are others who did not put out this statement. It's unfortunate, but it's their right. I think one statement condemned a sister on our platform who used a derogatory term to describe Indian Guyanese and to describe Indian Guyanese in uncomplimentary terms, referring to what they were before they left India. And I think that those statements were not appropriate coming from the young lady on the platform. But the young lady is a working class young woman, working class woman, who is standing up as a working class citizen. And we gave her an opportunity on our platform to speak. And so whatever she says on that platform, we take responsibility for. But we feel it's a little bit unfortunate to be beaten up on an ordinary woman, and we don't want to get into that business of beating up on an ordinary citizen. I think our brothers and sisters should have seen the larger point that was being made, and that they should know that the WPA and myself and Ogunse, yourself, Brother Dion, do not use that kind of language. And so therefore, you know, to beat up on an ordinary woman, I think it's unfortunate. But having said that, I am not spending 1 ounce of energy condemning those members of the PNC who made their statement. It's a democratic right, and if they feel a certain way, they should make it. I wish that the situation was handled differently. They were trying to get on to me on Sunday morning. I could not get to the phone. By the time I got to the phone, they had already put out their statement. By the time I got to the phone and spoke with them, they had already put out the statement, and there's nothing that I can do about that. So I will not condemn the sister who made the comments, although I don't feel the comments were in good taste. You know, she should have made a point without going using some of the language that she used there. But I'm not condemning her. In fact, I put my hand around her and protect her against those who are attacking her. But I'm also not attacking those brothers and sisters from the PNC put out that statement. It is a democratic right, and I will put my hand around them when they come on that attack. Brother Yubrat Singh was under attack a few weeks ago. I was in Guyana. I turned up in front of the court to give him solidarity and to walk with him, you know, and I gave him his due, and I will protect him. If the PPP continues to put their hands on Indian Guyanese in the PNC, I will protect them, despite the statements that they've made here. That is the politics of the Working People's Alliance.
I said we're in favor. One of the social media commentators, PPP rep usual, say the WPA breaking its own back. WPA broken its own back. That's not the only statement he made. I'm trying to get the exact other one. Alright, it's passed on, man. But he's saying basically the WPA is breaking its own back by taking this stance of not wanting crossover votes. As a matter of fact, I think he said what WPA should say is that we don't.
He's a jackass. He's a jackass. WPA is not saying it doesn't want crossover votes, and that is why sometimes I think we ought not to pay attention to some of these fools. WPA is saying it is not prepared to sell African Guyanese down the line for crossover votes. That is what we are saying. We're not saying we don't want crossover votes. When we come to an election, we want all votes. But this is not an election. Do not tell me or tell any African Guyanese that they must choose between standing up for the dignity of their people or seeking crossover votes. You don't make people, my brother, force your narrative, you carry your narrative. Read me some of the positive things that have been said here this morning. I don't want to hear the negative things.
Thank you, Dr. Hines. It's 4 minutes to the 7 o'clock. 4 minutes.
Who the hell are PPP people to tell us how we must move? They are the people who are destroying our community. I want to hear what our supporters are saying. The PPP supporters can go to hell. I wasn't speaking to them. We weren't speaking to them. We were speaking to Ali. And we got Ali to come on television and to cry. What the WPA is doing to me. You get Nandalal to come crying and they're breaking the law. We got the chief of the police to say, at least say, that they're supposed to be impartial. That was our objective. That little boy or girl or whoever you were reading there from, we weren't speaking to them. I don't want to hear about them. Tell me what Nandalal is saying. He's the Attorney General. Tell me what Ali is saying. He's the President. They're the ones who make the decisions. They're the ones who make the decisions to attack poor people. I want to hear about them and what they're saying. And I know what they're saying. I don't want to hear some little water boy saying. I've gone past that. And you, Brother Kiraki, leave those petty little boys. Since when a petty little boy makes a decision to demolish black people's homes, sometimes you have to move on. And we are moving on.
At 2 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour, let me take the opportunity to read the WPA statement in response to all of these statements that have been coming left, right, and center. Dated March 11, 2023. The WPA stands in solidarity with its long-standing member Takumo Gonsi, who was come under attack by Attorney General Anil Nandlal, ostensibly for statements made by Ogunse at the WPA public meeting at Buxton. Mr. Nandlal's accusation of racism against Brother Ogunse is laughable. The AG belongs to a party and government that have waged political and economic war against the African Guyanese community since coming to power in August 2020. Mr. Nandlal's declaration that that charge cannot be proven demonstrates how tone-deaf and racially insensitive the PPP is. The AG's implicit and explicit threat to take away Ogunse's liberty is in keeping with the government's larger campaign of bullyism that has characterized its most recent stint in office. It is an open attempt to once again violate the right to free speech, which is expressly guaranteed by the very Guyana constitution which the AG likes to pontificate about. WPA wishes to say to Nandlal that it would not be bullied and will defend its right to freedom of expression. In that regard, the party signals to the PPP that its reaction confirms the correctness of the party's civil disobedience campaign. WPA also notes the AG's not-so-veiled attempt to instigate the police to take action against Brother Ogunse. The continued use of the armed forces for partisan political ends is the hallmark of the PPP's mode of governance. We draw the attention of the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff to this open call to the institutions under his watch to become politically entangled beyond their constitutional remit. It is not coincidental that the chairman of Joint Chief of Staff also issued a statement on this matter, although it made no mention of Ogunse. The objective of the statement is clear. WPA welcomes the chairman's clarification of the non-political nature of the forces, but he needs to direct that clarification to the PPP government, which has overtly and covertly politicized the armed forces. Mr. Ogunse did not incite the forces as the statement insinuates. He simply called on the men in uniform to do the right thing and not turn their guns on Guyanese citizens protesting and resisting government overreach. The fact that the chairman's statement makes reference to inciting, quote, racial tensions, end quote, contradicts his claim of political impartiality. He, in his capacity of head of a state institution, is making a valued judgment of comments made by a political activist. If that is not political, WPA wonders what is. We therefore call on the chairman to review that part of his statement. In the meantime, WPA stands with Takumo Ogunse and withdraws not a single word of his statements. It's a minute past 8 o'clock. As usual, we open up the lines. Dr. Hines, you want to say anything further?
No, we withdraw not one single word. Sometimes in the history of a nation, some political party, some group has to stand up fearlessly. We withdraw not one single one. Those who are calling on us to withdraw, ask themselves if the PPP has ever withdrawn anything that it has said or done. WPP has never killed any person. We have never demolished people's homes. The PPP has done all of those things, and they've never apologized. In fact, the president says, I bulldoze those houses as mock-up because I don't want to be weak. Well, our family, meet your meter. We withdraw not one single statement because we are not weak. You may be weak and want to look strong. When you hear this from me this morning, the WPA is not weak. And we are not withdrawing one damn sentence, not one damn word. The rest of Guyana and all can come down and condemn us. We are not withdrawing one word. The battle is now joined.
Call it live, good morning.
Good morning, brothers. What a weekend, what a weekend, what a weekend. Pressure bus pipe.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams TV. Rare wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea. Where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see. Sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Breakford, Bork and Mark Bench Cup. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time, the people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Quindon Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. It is 7 hours 23 on the 14th day of March in the year 2023. Welcome to the program. I am not late, I am deliberate. Some things you just have to allow them to run their course. I think I just had to leave that presentation by Dr. Hines from yesterday's show to go as long as necessary, right? And I am sure many of you would appreciate that. Sometimes, you know, you mustn't always want to run your mouth, as we like to say. When things are said and when they are well said, you just leave them and let them soak in. Good morning. Welcome to another program. It's Tuesday morning. How have you been? How was your yesterday? I know talking with Dr. Hines yesterday left me with a whole lot of positive energy. Not that I walk around with a whole lot of negative energy, but hey, yesterday was quite energetic for me. You know, as I said, I was walking with a chip on my shoulder, right? Because it was reiterated. We ain't backing down. The battle has been joined. We ain't backing down. Those of you who had the opportunity to look at Takuma, Groundings on Channel 9 on Sunday, if you didn't, I would suggest that you do. I'm going to post it on my page. I don't think I did, but I'll post it on the page later in the course of today, so you can have a look at Groundings, WPA's Groundings, Waterani Groundings from Channel 9 on Sunday. Because Takuma Ogunse was the guest there, and he had a lot to say, and I am sure he brought a lot of clarity to what he said on the platform. Good? And so I'm encouraging you to, you know, go over there and listen to it at some point in time. Like I said, it's Tuesday. I hope you had a restful night last night. I hope you were quite productive yesterday. Make money, man. I like when people make money. I will never stop saying make money. Because like I usually say, they say money makes the world go wrong. They say the love of money is the root of all evil. And I usually emphasize, I don't love money. I love what money can do. Right? What money can do. And if you look at this Guyanese society, you will see what money can do. It could do the good, bad, and the ugly. It is the choice of you. You have the choice. What will you do with money when you earn it? Will you do good, bad, or ugly with it? Those of us who prefer to do good, the others who prefer to do bad and ugly. So my encouragement is make money and use it for good. Use it for the good of your children, your family, your nation, your community. But when you look around there now, you see what money is doing, especially oil money. The PPP and their friends and codies. I see somebody is complaining about some Ben Up Road or Ben Up Street that Critics building. Critics is a contractor for. Like anybody could be more powerful than critics now in this society, talking to people anyhow and so on. Money. Access to money. Right? Some people get powerful just dwelling in the circle of friends where money is. it is important for every ethnic group in this society to have equal or fair access to the resources of this nation, this oil resources of this nation. That will be a contributory factor to leveling the playing field. Right? That will be a contributing factor to leveling the playing field. Because everybody will look at each other in the eyes and say, but these people have resources just as much as we have. Or these people have access to resources just as much as we have. And so they will be able to match us. And that is what the PPP doesn't want. PPP doesn't want another group of people in this country to have access to resources that can match them. Match their arrogance and everything else. And I touched on it yesterday, but I want to say it again to you. African Guyanese, oppressed people in this country, your worth, your value is much, much, much more than the PPP wants you to believe. When the men on a mission or the men on monkey business come into your community to bring you $3,000 and a box of cocoa, chase them out. Chase them out. Don't even spare them a minute. It's an insulting thing to learn that after WPA hosted a meeting in Den Amstel, a few days after the men on a mission or the men on monkey business turn up to entice our young men and women in the community with a box of food, a bottle of water, and $3,000 in an envelope. For what purpose? For what purpose? I'm going to drink the water and pass it out. I'm going to eat the box of food and I'm going to pass it out. How does $3,000 empower me? Y'all talk to me. How does $3,000 empower me? We got to do better as a people. Right? We have to do better as a people. We got to stop getting this mentality about free money. Hey, it's free money. It's free food. And I'm telling y'all about y'all mouth again. Who prepared the meals? Who prepared the meals? Under what conditions were they prepared? How many prayers were said over them? How many demonic spirits they were offered up to? Yeah, I have to get like that because y'all don't understand, you know. Somebody is at my gate that I have to attend to. I'll give me a minute. It's important. It's a visitor from the diaspora, I was told. But think on that. I'll return to you shortly.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams TV. Rare wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea. Where the wicked politician they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Here's one set of people getting oil money. Here's one set of people doing the thievery. Beep beep. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see. Sharing your views and your in.
Yes, your morning again. So I'm back here. And I was asking a question. Good morning. I was wondering what's happening with you. I don't see you in my room. Yes, I'm listening to you. What I say, nyami nyami, the old people say what sweeter goat mouth does better eat backside. Right? And one must assume, because this is warfare, and people believe that warfare is just physical. Warfare is spiritual too. And sometimes we laugh when some of our viewers call in and say, the PPP got Guyana under spell. But who is to say it is not so? Did some part of your good book say wherever you put him, I'm going to defile you? I got the places that I go that you can't make I eat. I always talk about my children. They would visit relatives and they're never hungry. Regardless of if they're up and dying, they ain't hungry. They ain't want. Whatever so often you can hear of these, you can hear of these representatives of this illegitimate and wicked administration going into communities, African Guyanese communities, to get them cooked food. A box of food and $3,000. A box of food and $5,000. Why it gotta always be a box of food? Is it because a black politician had once said to the PPP, all black people want is cook up and music and they good? Cook up rum music, they good? Bacchanal? And we have this stereotype continuing because we are allowing people to come into our community and offer food, throw the blasted food in their face. Pelt it back on them. In fact, you don't even turn up. So just as how they come, they leave. When they go into Indo-Guyanese communities, they walk with big bags of ration. Sealed bags of ration. Sealed bags of rice. Sealed bags of sugar. Sachets of sugar. Sachets of rice. This, that, the other. Sealed bottles of oil and so on. They're carrying it so the Indo-Guyanese can prepare their own meals according to their custom and beliefs. But they bring cooked food and give you why. You got sense. Just as how the Indian youngster a year or two ago say, call a big party and poison out all them black man, and the sister recently say all them black man should be poisoned out. You're exposing yourself to be poisoned out. And we gotta be aware, we can't continue to go on with this nonsense. Our young men around the community gotta stop this nonsense, young men and women, and believe that there's a free meal. There's nothing like a free meal. They ain't got no free meal. And the faster we come to that realization, the better off we will be, because we will be more alert. We going to recognize what is an insult is against what is an opportunity for upward mobility. Why some people can get bags of ration of sealed goods and so on, and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you're going to accept a box of food. One box of food. And $3,000 with a bottle of water. Where's your lightation? Where's your lights? We have to be more aware, and we got to talk frankly to our children and our brothers and sisters. Right? We got to do that. Who wants to think it's racism is a matter for them? Because the most blatant exhibition, the most blatant exhibition of racism and racist conduct in this country comes from the PPP. It's racist to go into black communities and take a box of food. Why you don't take a box of food into Indian communities? Get woke and stay woke, people. Don't allow it to happen. People could buy your freedom or your dignity with a box of food. That's a joke. It is the same approach that they have to the people at Providence and Peters Hall. Over at Peters Hall, let me go to Providence first. Over at Providence, they indicated to the predominantly Indo-Guyanese community that the bridge is going to land in that area and they got to move. And the people told them blatantly, we're not moving. We are not moving. We have title and transports for these lands. We're not moving. We've been here since Noah was a boy. We're not moving. And you know what? They didn't fight them. They didn't force them. They didn't cajole them into moving. Because they're predominantly Indo-Guyanese. They look like them. But the people at Peters Hall, just about 20 feet apart from Providence, were told the same thing. But they weren't given the opportunity to say we're moving. They were told that if you don't move, we're going to move you. They weren't allowed to negotiate the value of the homes. According to documents I've seen, the government department, valuation department, value their homes. I told them what they will get for it. Isn't that racist? Isn't that unfair? One set of people get to call the shots and the others can't? Why? All of them living on the riverfront. All of them got riverfront property. All of them property value big money because they will fall in the vicinity of a major thoroughfare now. But only some got to move. Only some got the option to say, we ain't going no way. I have with us this morning MP Annette Ferguson, former Minister of Works, Junior Minister, I think she was, of Works. And then she went across to the Ministry of Housing. And so I'm going to get to kill two cats with the same stone. Or two birds. And apologies, I don't want the animal rights people come and attack me. Sister Annette, you need to put on your video. You disappeared on me.
Right? No, I'm right here.
Good. So I'll get to talk with her about the bridge. And then we're going to talk about them little houses that are giving low-income people, poor people, as we like say. Morning, Annette. Welcome to the program. How are you doing?
Good morning, Kadaki. I am well, thanks. And I trust the same is for you. And just before we commence our discussion on matters of importance, allow me the opportunity to extend a pleasant morning to your listeners and viewers across the social media platform. That's one. And since this is my first appearance for the year 2023, though we are in the third month of the new year, allow me the opportunity too to extend best wishes for a productive 2023 to your viewers and listeners. And thirdly, I want to thank you very much for allowing me your space to come and share with your listeners and viewers. That's the only way, people will get to be informed, will also be educated on matters and issues affecting the ordinary people here in Guyana. And may I take this opportunity too to extend, a big congratulations to you and the team here at Kams Tv, who consistently every morning into the evening find it quite possible to have programs so as to keep our people informed and educated. So I want to shout out a big congratulations to you, Kadaki. I know it is not easy waking every morning, preparing for this program, and then you have to rush off to your personal business. But we are fighting the just cause, and it is these activities like this that will keep us going, keep us motivated, keep us inspired so that we can inform and keep our people sensitized. So once again, big kudos to you and the team out there at Kams TV. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Annette. Before I get to you, let me address quickly Miranda Brown from the PPP. Well, let me tell you something. Sometimes I just bypass you because I really don't able with this stupidity. They say don't argue with fools, they're going to carry you to their level and win. But let me tell you something. You asking the question if anybody was forced to take the food? And you're saying that $3,000 is good money? $3,000 is good money for who? Huh? $3,000 is good money for who? $15 US? It's good money for who? In the Indo-Guyanese communities, I say it again, they're getting multiples of $3,000, 100-fold $3,000. Right? So to say that $3,000 is good money in African Guyanese community is simply supporting what I'm saying. Your mindset is promoting the racism of the people you support. Because in one community you could get 300,000 and the next one you could only get 3,000. It's racism, it's bigotry. Were they forced to take the food? I can justify, yeah, they were forced to take the food. Because hungry mouth don't have pride. And if you're starving a community from resources, the possibility is its people will be starved. And so when they see the opportunity to eat your dirty food, they're going to take it anyhow. So you put them in the situation, your government put them in a situation where they're forced to accept these pittances because they see it as the only way out. I am saying to them, it doesn't have to be the only way out. Right? I am saying it doesn't have to be the only way out. They got other ways out. I come over and say recommend one. Annette, I don't want you to associate with any of my bad behavior. I just behave bad. Let's talk about this Peters Hall matter. Recently, we're seeing a lot of furore over Peters Hall. The government issued letters, documents which I've seen through the Central Housing and Planning Authority. Yeah, you were right there, Ministry of Housing, right? The CEO now is somebody named Greaves, I think. I've seen those letters which said to the residents, listen, we have engaged you previously, and we are saying to you now, you have to remove from this area. We are going to pay you, I see value of $20 million for one home. You will get $20 million for your home. You have an option to buy a home, turnkey house and land from us. Or we can give you a land. We can give you a piece of land as, by way of deed of gift. The contention of a lot of these people, and it is more than 20 homes, I think about 25 to 27 homes that will be affected, right? Of course, the number of families will be greater because you got adjacent families and so on.
Yes.
Folks are saying, listen, we got title to these properties. And so, out of respect, due respect, we should be allowed to first and foremost negotiate. If you want to buy us out, because the document speaks of the people signing an agreement of sale and purchase. So the government is saying they must sign an agreement of sale and purchase. In other words, this is a sale. You're forcing people to sell their properties. Right? And if I'm going to sell, then as the owner, I have a right to negotiate my price. Now you telling me, well, you think value this and this is what I will give you. Everybody knows that in Guyana, it is a seller's market. I got it, you want it, you pay what I want for it, or you left it alone. The government is saying, no, you have to sign an agreement of sale and purchase, so this $20-something million, and you have until the end of April to move. If you can't move within the prescribed time, we are going to provide temporary accommodation for you. So we're going to take you and put you in some poor home. This is how I interpret it. The people are saying, this is not our desire. Our desire is not to move, first and foremost. And secondly, if it is absolutely necessary for us to move, we reserve the right to discuss the value of what we have to give up. This is not just about a house or a piece of land. This is psychological attachment and emotional value and all of that. We must decide what this property means to us and how much we want for it. Good? Now, bullyism, as far as I know, and racism too, because over Peters Hall, Providence, they approach the people to move and the people say we're not moving. And because they're predominantly Indo-Guyanese, they have not been forced to move. So they can retain their place there. Just about 20 feet, I say, Peters Hall, they have to remove, they are forced to remove. Let's talk about the new Demerara Harbour Bridge, the conceptualization, because I know it was conceptualized under the APNU AFC government. What were the ideas behind the new Demerara Harbour Bridge? Where were the locations considered for it?
Okay, thank you very much, Kedaki. But even before I respond to the question put, allow me briefly to state it is quite unfortunate what the residents or the people of Peters Hall are currently faced with. I mean, any right-thinking government, any caring government would ensure that a more humane approach is executed when engaging the people. And all that you would have said, I fully support you. I mean, you can't want my property to execute a major project I mean, I've been living in this particular location for over 3 decades. Now to come and disturb me, disrupt my livelihood and every other thing else without showing to me, well, look, this is the better option. And then you're giving me a short window period in which to remove. This particular case is parallel to what we saw in the Mocha situation, where they went in on the people and give them late notices and eventually, moved in because of the resistance of some residents and started to bulldoze them. It is quite unfortunate, Kadaki, and the people must stand up for the right and must demand a better and the best approach by any caring administration. Now to answer the question put with regards to the coalition's idea on the new Demerara Harbour Bridge. But I must give a brief background because, and just to remind our listeners and viewers, that a pre-feasibility study was carried out in 2013. You hear me? A pre-feasibility study was carried out in 2013, not by the coalition government, but it was by the then People's Progressive Party civic government. That would have been the Donald Ramatar's administration. And in this pre-feasibility study, 3 alternative areas or locations were actually identified. The areas are as follows. You got Houston, you have Peters Hall, and also New Hope. That's further up the East Bank corridor. However, when the coalition took office, because between 2013 and 2015, nothing was done after that pre-feasibility study was done by the administration. So the government changed in 2015. And like any government that wants to see development and improvement in our infrastructure and main access roads or bridges, we started the conversation to have the new Demerara River Bridge done. So what we did as a government in January, I think it might have been January 1st, or it might have been latter part of 2016, we started to engage consultants, and we were able to get Levensico, right? Levensico. That is, I think, is a company out of Germany, if my memory serves me accurate. And they started the feasibility study on the Demerara Harbour, for the Demerara Harbour Bridge. And I must let your viewers know that the feasibility study, or this whole process, started on January 1st, 2017 to somewhere in August of 2017. And during the whole consultation process, a lot of entities, a lot of residents too were engaged. We had interviews taken, we had presentations done, amongst every other thing. And coming out of the feasibility study, this is what the main conclusions were. And I want you to give me some time to briefly share with your listeners. A low bridge at Houston with 3 lanes and a movable section to transit seagoing vessels is found to be the best solution. This is not the coalition speaking. This is high expert. This is consultants, the experts. This is the report I am referring to, right? 1, present bridge is unreliable. And we're talking about the existing bridge there that has been in existence for close to 4 to 5 years. Present bridge is unreliable and lacks the capacity to serve the traffic demand. Hence, a new bridge is required. 2, traffic is estimated to continue to grow at 5% per annum, sorry. Thirdly, the road network in Greater Georgetown area is saturated. The road network adjacent to the present bridge is not able to serve the present and future traffic demand. New linking roads are required to fully use the new bridge capacity. And if I may be allowed here, I recall while this particular report was being finalized, the then government through the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, yes, we were looking at alternative areas to have new road networks constructed. But you wouldn't find that detailed in this report because a separate study was done in that regard, right? The best location, you hear me? The best location is at Houston Versailles. This is the consultant's report, Kadaki, I'm reading. This is the finding of the consultants after conducting their assessment and feasibility study and so forth. So the best location is at Houston Versailles. Third, another point to note, a 3-lane bridge with an opening section to allow river traffic to pass is the best configuration. Investment costs, traffic demand, economic impact, urban development aspects, environmental impacts, and financial feasibility have all been considered in the equation to arrive at the above choice of location and configuration. So, my brother, this is not the coalition report, but this is the report coming out from the consultants, the experts. And this is in the report, you will also find recommended bridge location. So under this finding, this is what the consultants report is saying. The Houston Versailles location is the recommended location for the following reasons. One, Kadaki, the highest socio-economic cost benefit, that is, the highest benefit for invested monies. Secondly, much lower urban and environmental impacts than other locations. So Kadaki, as I said before, the consultants also looked at Peters Hall, because remember there was a pre-feasibility study, Peters Hall location, and also New Hope further up the East Bank corridor. But because of the configuration of those areas, right, those two areas, it would have had a negative environmental impact on any bridge going in those areas. So the Houston Versailles area was much lower urban and environmental impact than other locations. And Kadaki, if you are a frequent user of the East Bank corridor, you will see when traffic is light, you have a better flow of traffic in that Houston Versailles area, and the area is much wider than the Peters Hall area and also the New Hope area. Thirdly, the third recommendation, Kadaki, the best solution to improve traffic. The best solution to improve traffic, and I've just gave a brief explanation with the wideness of that particular area. Fourthly, the lowest investment cost and thus the most viable from funding viewpoint. Kadaki, this is the recommendation of the report done by Levensico company, consultant company, out of Germany there. So this was the idea of the coalition government. And if you read, oh boy, I forgot to make mention that even in this report, they're saying that just a few houses will have to be removed. Nothing big, because they talk about the PSI there. That is the PSI is what is place name that deals with fish. Pretty Paul Singh Investment Company. And then you have the Munishwar company. They have some kind of operation out there. So, you know, and I think in that area, you have a few houses, nothing much. And I think the coalition government, we had started to engage all stakeholders, whether private residents, whether commercial business operators. We were able to engage. We had consultation. We invited them. I recall we had a series of consultation at the Carol Lodge Inn. I think even at the Savannah Suite there at the Pegasus Hotel. So we did a whole lot of work to bring awareness and also to engage stakeholders on what the coalition was going to do with regards to the construction of this new Demerara Harbour Bridge. So I will pause here for now, Kadaki.
Thank you for pausing right here for now, because something I want to point out importantly with this this location business. The lowest socio-economic impact. Right? The lowest socio-economic impact. It would cause less social disturbances. Former Minister Ferguson says small number of people to be removed. Small number of people to be removed. But let me say this again, and let me show you where this is Friends and Conies running the show. Because Pretty Passing Investment, it is alleged, it has always been alleged, is part owned. As a matter of fact, some argue is majority owned by Bar Jagdio. It is alleged. Notice say it is alleged. Me, you know, I ain't got the details. Right? Pretty Passing Investments is where those people suffered from gas inhalation the other day and had to be rushed to the hospital and all of that. It is where those people, where Sharon and I went and did a live report on the bad treatment of workers and so on. It is a very company that people say when they call the Ministry of Labour to complain about people hang up phones for them. You must understand the connection, and that is why I'm saying, I'm showing you the connection. How government departments treat with Pretty Passing Investments. Who it is alleged owns it or has a major part ownership in, and how they treat it. And so when it is recommended that, look, this is one of the companies that will be affected, along with another one or two, and I was told about 6 homes, that is too much for the PPP to do, because it is going to affect them and their friends and cronies. But let me go to Peters Hall and remove 21 black people. Because they ain't got right in this society. They should not own riverfront property where the value is going to go up. They shouldn't. And so let's remove them. There's no racism, you know. There's economic genocide. Right? So you had in the proposals former Minister Ferguson read, you had 3 sites considered. The specialists recommended 1 site. Or I should say highly recommended 1 site as against the others. And they gave their justifications, but that site is not even considered under the PPP for use. Pretty Passing is a big Indian businessman. Munishwar is owned by big Indian business family. The 21 properties at Peters Hall, except I think for 1 Indian guy, a black people own. Y'all think about that. Think about that. I also understand that the type of bridge that they're doing is what they call a high-rise bridge. They're not doing the open and close based on my understanding. They're going for some high-rise bridge that is going to land somewhere till in Nandi Park. The people in Nandi Park were approached also. Predominantly Indians. And they told them, we're moving from here. Barnum give you this, we're moving. It is yet to be seen what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, the only people they have moved upon with notices and so on are them black man from Petersburg. I don't care how y'all see it. I call it how I see it. Former Minister Ferguson has a right to disassociate herself with these statements. Because these days it looks like a lot of disassociation can happen for people to be competent. But that's the reality. That is the reality. And that is why I said, let me get to people who were part of the process as in the minister. It is our ministry. It is their ministry who was looking after this thing. They will know. And so if the PPP believes that she's not telling the truth, let her rebut. Let her rebut and say, well, you know this minister that I'm lying? Right? This is the facts. Let them say that. Yes, Annette.
Yes, if I may, because I mentioned earlier that PSI and also Monishwar were also engaged. But this is what the report is saying here. And if I may quote from the report, some issues to be resolved, Kadaki, are the resettlement of some houses and efforts to minimize the impact to the Monishwar terminal as well as to the PSI fishing terminal adjacent to the bridge. So your point advanced not so long, Kedaki, you absolutely accurate. Because we see the reason why the government's interest is wholly and solely to focus its attention on the Peters Hall area and not much on the Houston Versailles area because of, personal, probably some person's personal interest, or because of, the owners of these massive businesses are favorites and friends of the governing regime. So Kadaki, I am feeling for those residents in Peters Hall. And I will say this again, Kadaki. I served as the minister in the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, and I also served in the Ministry of Communities with responsibility for housing. And I always like to emphasize my point when it comes to housing, that I only served there for a short period of time, less than a year. But whilst serving at housing, I know for a fact that we hadn't issued letters to affected residents and give them timelines in which to move. That wasn't on the card at housing during the coalition time. What I recall though, Kedaki, whilst at public infrastructure, we engaged the management, the then management of CH&PA headed by Mr. Lieutenant Colonel retired Leland Saul and his team, where we were able to show them what will be happening on the East Bank corridor to facilitate the new Demerara Harbour Bridge at the Houston Versailles area. And I also recall us presenting to them our blueprint for the roads running, I think somewhere in the Houston area where the new Mandela Eccles Road is, because that too was our vision to advance and to improve the landscape where infrastructure is concerned in this country. So, Kadaki, as I started, I will say again, it is quite unfortunate what this regime is doing to the people in Peters Hall. When I listen to Sherrod's, because I'm also, as an opposition member, I'm also shadowing housing and water. But nothing came to me prior to the video that I saw circulating on social media where Sherrod went into the area and he had interviews conducted by residents there in the area. And I must commend, whether she's an octogenarian, you know, it's a pensioner, but she, you know, she stood up. She stood before the lens of the camera and she spoke from the heart. The woman said she will not removed and she's going to resist every attempt by this government to have them move. You can't do people like this. And then I heard they went to the government, had the government valuation department conducted the value without informing the residents, the owners of those property. And Kadaki, you and I know what can play out there. Oh, ensure whatever you do, it is done, you know, probably at a lower value. At the low value rate, so it wouldn't be of an exorbitant cost on the government's purse. So it is sad, Kadaki, to see what is happening. As I said before, a better approach could have been worked out. You cannot turn up in a community. You cannot turn up in a community and give the people, we call it again, short notices to have them removed. You cannot, Kadaki, how can you turn up in the month of February? And tell the people that they got these options are available and your timeline to move is by April 2023. As ridiculous, Kadaki, you're not taking into account the impact or the effect it would have on these people's livelihood. You're going to be disrupting children having to attend school in close proximity. Probably persons got their own little, businesses in the community there. These are things you must take consideration into. And you would recall, Kadaki, that it is the same playbook, or it is the same game that played out in the Mucka area. All right, you said to the people, you have this road to construct and that they must move. So rather than sitting with the people, you understand me, they moved in the early of the morning and started to bulldoze people, affected people's livelihood, affected people's, disrupt children who have to go to school in that community. So I am saying to the administration, the time has come for you to find better arrangement to engage your people. The Constitution is quite clear, Kadaki. Article 13, I think, of the Constitution is quite clear. You must have consultation with your people. They must be a part of the decision-making process. But what we are seeing by this administration is the continuous attack on one particular ethnic makeup in this country. I'm not saying that the other ethnic groups are not being affected by, but they might be in the minority. But the majority of people who are suffering at the hands of this regime are of African ancestry. And it is quite unfortunate. It is quite unfortunate. Why can't you engage the representative? These people got representatives in the National Assembly, engaged us, say, well, look, this is what we're thinking, and this is what we would like to do. If you can speak to your constituents, let them know what is the government approach. Y'all get back to us. Give us a timeline when we can get back to you, and we engage our constituents. Let them know what is the options. Hear from them. We go back to the table, and then you bring in those who will be affected with their legal representatives, and you start the negotiation. But they believe that moving in, sending in suspected people into the community to drive fear and intimidation into the people will cause the people to just throw their hands up and say, we give up, without any resistance. But again, I want to applaud that elderly woman who stood up and said she will not be removing. And I think there are many others like her in the community, but who are fearful to take to the cameras and speak what is really on their minds.
I want people to take note of this. Like you rightly said, they claim that they were removing people from Mocha because of the road. We have seen a part of the road, and we are convinced up until now that a part of the road and the KMV residents do not cross. There would have been no obstruction. At least up until now, that is clear to me, as clear as day. I'm still waiting, because maybe by magic, they're going to make the road intersect with where the KMV people were living. I am afraid, and I'm saying it, I am afraid that a lot of these people they're forcing out, of Peters Hall are being forced out not necessarily because of the bridge, but because of the values of the land, the accrued values of the land when that bridge is landed. And so in my mind, a lot of people are being removed from those areas so that at a later date, the friends and cronies of this government can acquire those lands to their own financial benefit. And I'm saying it here. Somebody's asking what the opposition is doing for them. I'm saying it here. It is my firm belief that those people should approach the courts and challenge this latest move of the government to dispossess them. Let the court determine if it is necessary to move them. Let the government make its case in court. Because once the case is made in court, then the government will have to adhere to the ruling of the court. Well, this land is going to be acquired for this particular use. Anything else is going to be against the ruling of the court and can be challenged again. And that is what I'm advising the people of Peters Hall. And as a matter of fact, anywhere across this country that the government is attempting to take away your lands by telling about eminent domain, people should approach the courts and let the courts make that final determination. While the opposition, sorry MP, just now, while the opposition representatives can speak with these people, can engage them, at the end of the day, the willpower has to be with those people. I know a lot of them are fearful. A lot of them don't even want to show their face on a camera if you're going to do a video to highlight the plight. A lot of them don't even want to sit in a meeting which is going to address their issues. But it is not that they don't want resolution, but they are afraid of the vindictiveness of this administration. Kudos to the few who are brave enough, like the pensioner Annette mentions. Right? Kudos to those. Because one single person with the willpower can make a difference. Yes, MP?
Yeah, you know, Kadaki, like the coalition, unlike the coalition government, this PPPC regime is yet to show to this nation what their feasibility study is. What would have caused them not to utilize the study done in 2017 by the German company? And why move now, the German company for Houston Versailles? And why moving to Peters Hall now? Where is the feasibility study? This regime is in a haste, Kedaki, to do everything one time, because apparently they probably realize that come 2025, they don't have a ticket to the chance of regaining power. So everything they're doing at one time. So if the government, the PPP that is, had used the approach, even if you don't want to utilize, all right, say you don't want to use the Versailles, Houston area. But if you had a feasibility study done, by right, the company or individuals who you would have engaged to have the study done would have engaged those people, would have consulted, because during any study, you must have an EIA, which is the environmental impact assessment, or the environmental social impact assessment done. Kadaki, we don't know what report this government is using. We are yet to see them demonstrate to the Guyanese people, well, this is what the new design will look like. This is what it will cost the government. This is what will have to happen in terms of having people resettled in some other area and all kind of thing. I think if you had a comprehensive plan and a comprehensive report for this new site, I think things would have been better. But Kadaki, even in our report, the report coming out from the German company showed that it would have cost the coalition government, or the people of Guyana, if I may say, $170 million to construct that bridge, the design that we got. But now you're hearing about 260 million $260 million. The figures, they're changing, because why, Kadaki? The simple answer to that is because there is no report, there is no complete feasibility study which the government can use as their blueprint to have this project executed. So Kadaki, I guess you have been following what is in the news. You heard that the contract was tendered out sometime, I think it might have been late 2020, early 2021. You heard some Chinese company with the lowest bid. I don't have the name at my fingertips at the moment. Some Chinese company with the lowest bid was awarded this project for the new Demerara Harbour Bridge at Peters Hall. Then suddenly you hear that the government will not be using the lowest bid, they would not be using that company any longer, but they're going to another lowest bid. But when you look at the two companies, the company that they're now engaging had a higher price than the first company that they deemed the lowest bidder. So this whole approach by this regime regarding the construction of the new Demerara Harbour Bridge might end up just like the Amila Falls project It will end up just like the Skeldon sugar factory plant and all manner of things. Because they stood in the National Assembly and said to the people through the National Assembly that works have commenced during the budget debate, Kadaki, for 2023, when the Honorable Minister of Public Works was asked hard questions by the Shadow Minister, David Patterson, Honorable Member. What percentage of works have commenced? Where are we? What is happening? The man stood up and said, yes, works have commenced. People were issued letters. Imagine in February, early February, during the consideration of the early February, during the consideration of the estimates, we were told that people were issued letters. Residents were issued letters. Now you're hearing late February, early into March, you're hearing people claiming that they have now received letters by the Ministry of Housing and Water, through Central Housing and Planning Authority. Kadaki, what do you say to these things? How can we trust our leaders? You stood in the National Assembly and you said to the nation and the people around the globe, because it was live stream, letters were issued, but yet the residents are claiming that they only received their letters in March of 2023. Where are we going, Kadaki? Can you trust those in government?
Can this minister be taken before you commit your privileges for being deceitful?
Well, I guess we will have to examine, I guess, as an opposition collectively, we will have to examine these things. You understand me? And I can tell you this, Kadaki, I can tell you this, and I'm going to do some further research on this. Monies, I guess, I'm veering off a bit from the new Demerara Harbour Bridge. Monies in the budget from since 2020, 2021, 2022, now we are in 2023, were provided for the Linden to Mabura road link. When we asked for a status update during the consideration of the 2023 budget, we were told, oh, machineries, people, a lot of workers are on site, and this is, piles are driving and all manner of things. Well, just last week, on Friday to be precise, I engaged someone. And you know what the person said to me in our conversation? The person said, you know what? Imagine the past money for building Linden to Mabura Road. You understand me? But nothing started. I said, wait. How you mean nothing is started? No piles in drive. They ain't got workmen on site. They ain't got equipment there. The person said I got some equipment parked up. But nothing, no work has commenced. And again, it is the Honorable Bishop, the man of the cloth, who stood in the National Assembly in February of 2023 to say to us that works have commenced, piles have driven, and a lot of equipment, a lot of workmen on site. So I asked the person again. The person said, man, I'm telling you, I went up there early this week. And not one single pile in drive. Nothing ain't happening. But yet monies have been appropriated in the budgets to execute these projects. So Kadaki, it is programs like these. It is people who traverse this nation, where we can go. I mean, not to say that we can't go, but then again, we all have to play our role. So if you're traversing any area and things ain't happening the right way, you got to reach out, bring it to our attention. The the politicians, the opposition members' attention, and we're going to expose the government because something is happening. The monies are not being utilized for the purposes of which they have been approved for, Kadaki, and that I have serious problems with that.
Thank you. We can't only expose, we have to find ways of addressing these issues. And that is why I asked the question about Committee of Privilege, because it's one of the places I think this matter of deceit by a member of parliament can be addressed. The people also must stand up and demand accountability and action be taken on these matters. We are at 27 minutes to 9 o'clock. Normally we would open up the lines and so on. But I want to ask you quickly, those homes that are being built for low-income earners, was that a standard of the coalition?
No, Kadaki. No, Kadaki. And if I can briefly state, and I can cite an area where I can use as an example. The coalition established the Perseverance Area Housing Scheme. And Kadaki, if you go to that area now, you will see the kind of houses that were constructed by the coalition administration. You understand me? It was always the president's vision, not only to give people a piece of land to construct their house, but also they must have space in which to have, the little kitchen garden planted so that they can reap or harvest from it. So if the houses built under the coalition are far superior to what is being constructed now. As I said earlier on, Kadaki, this government is in a rush. This government is in a haste because at the same time the project's doing and the money's thieving. The monies are being stolen from the people of this country. You would recall, Kadaki, that the very man who sits in the seat of the presidency, he held the reins, he was the head or the minister at that time at the Ministry of Housing and Water, of which you had the 1,000 homes constructed around the Providence area. You go at the back of Providence, you'll see those flat houses that were constructed during his tenure. Kadaki, when we took government in 2015, you think it's 2 cents money we had to expend? Over $2 billion dollars we expended to correct defectives and substandard works on those houses. A day like today, I know of a woman who is living in one of those houses. And she reached out to me several months ago. And she said, MP, every morning when I get up and I put my feet down, is in a set of water. The rain ain't fall, the place dry. So I said, man, where this water coming from? She said, she don't know. I said, well, you will have to get an expert, a contractor, to really conduct an assessment to see whether the flooring is porous and that is actually causing the place to flood during the course of the morning. So I'm saying that to say to you that what we see now is what people experience, what people got, and perhaps even worse than pre-May 2015. So the coalition government, Kadaki, was the better stewards in whether building houses for our people, and also executing works in all the other sectors in government. So, Kadaki, you wait and see what will happen. The complaints will come. The complaints will come. I took the opportunity, I had the opportunity of, visiting a few of the areas that they have constructed houses. I went to Cummins Large Housing Scheme. Some other area I went to, I think Peters Hall area. And I am at a loss. Yes, the designs are nice, but Kadaki, when you go into the house, into those houses, the standard, the quality of the construction is not, of standard. And I pity those home beneficiaries, who will have to take a mortgage. You're paying for the mortgage. Then when the defect starts to show its ugly face, that is an additional burden. That is an additional cost on the people who are actually trying to make ends meet to ensure they pay their mortgage and still have to support their family. So Kadaki, as I said before, the coalition had a better management system when it comes to the construction of houses in this country.
Thank you. I have a lot more questions in relation to the housing, but it's 20 minutes tonight. I'd like to give my viewers the opportunity to have their say. So I will have to invite you back for us to continue the housing discussion. Because, for example, I want to know about the sizes of houses, location, layout of houses, size of land. Whether or not it would not have made more sense to make the land available to these low-income owners and facilitate them going to the banks to their own mortgages and building their own buildings. Those are things that I constantly ask myself. But thank you for your time. We will meet again. I'm sure we will meet again. It's only the third month in the year.
Yes, Kanaki.
But things are so dynamic, every day is a new thing to deal with in this society. So, but we'll meet again. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for the clarity, and you can make your closing.
Yes, thank you very much, Kadaki, for giving me, this platform this morning to share and to at least bring clarity on some of the issues our people are being affected with. And I trust that what was shared this morning, people were able to be, more informed so that they can spread the message. And if persons wish to reach out to me for any additional information, I can make my numbers available, or my number rather available, 623-6032. I will repeat again, 623-6032. You can also find me on Facebook. You can also message me via Messenger, and rest assured, whatever information is shared with me as your representative to highlight to the people, you will remain anonymous. So there's no need to be fearful. We are here to help and to expose and to call out this administration. You may not be able to do it, but we are competent enough and bold enough and brave enough to do what you are afraid to do. So once again, Kadaki, thank you very much for having me. I do look forward to you inviting me for another program where I can share and highlight issues and bring clarity to our people. And finally, I want to thank your viewers for listening and tuning in. And I want to end by saying, continue to do the good work that you're doing. And may God continue to give you the strength. May God continue to give you the wisdom. May God continue to guide your footsteps. And may God continue to bless our beautiful nation, Guyana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And so there you have it. We were chatting with former Minister of Housing and Junior Minister in the Ministry of Works and so on. And we were talking about Peters Hall Bridge, New Demerara Harbour Bridge. You heard it for yourself. You heard her read from the recommendations and so on. So I don't have to dwell too much on that. However, we'll dwell on some comments I'm seeing. People jealous of the PPP housing plan. PPP ain't got no housing plan, except the rural people. Last week I showed you all the low-income houses at the back of Annette there. Those houses are 16 feet by 18 feet. 2 bedrooms. Who builds a 2-bedroom? Or who divides 16 feet by 18 feet into a 2-bedroom home? There's a modern day lodge. It is a modern day lodge. You know what's the trick? They'll come and tell you they're 24 by 18. 24, you can get 24 if you measure the back. Because at the back there's a projection for the toilet and bath, an 8-foot projection. So the buildings are not rectangular, they're L-shaped. But the main structure of the building is 16 feet by 18 feet. And that is divided into 2 bedrooms plus living room and kitchen. Can you imagine that? In this day and age, for $5 million? My sources tell me it comes up to a total of $2.5 million. So the contractor is making 100% killing. Yeah, I would jealous the contractor for that kind of return on investment. But I pity the low-income owners who have to be burdened with that financial cost. Because while they're paying the government $5 million to it, or the contractor $5 million to it, they will pay the bank much more than $5 million. Because you have to take into consideration interest on the loans they take. So they might very well be paying the bank $6 and $7 million to that piece of crap. The logi. And people like Brong and them, they come and defend that shit. Excuse my language, they come and defend that nonsense. These people ain't got heart. And you know why they can do it? Because they think they're better off feeding at the trough of the government. I'm sure none of them will live in one of that. I'm sure none of them will live in one of that. I went over into that scheme last evening on a drive just to observe. And I could point out, and time will tell me if I'm right. Every single allocation, well, not every single allocation, there's some constructions which started in there. As a matter of fact, there's some construction, some homes which are already completely built and locked up. And I can identify them as big shot homes. People are friends and cronies of the government because what? The style of the home, when you look at and you assess the cost of the home, and these are the people who need homes because they build them and lock them up there. But poor people, low income, they're giving them 16 by 18. Must be some jail cell. Anyhow, it's 40 minutes to the 9 o'clock hour. I will first play my voice notes, and then if I have time, I'll take calls. Sorry. Calls usually get precedent over voice notes, but sometimes I have to do it differently. Voice note.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. Good morning, viewers. You know, it's a sad situation in Guyana. From what Ms. Ferguson is saying, the government of Guyana, the wicked are going after hard-working Guyanese who work so hard to build a house. And what she's saying, they could build a bridge in that direction. Don't disturb hard-working Guyanese life. Yeah? Those people are wicked. And the Guyanese people need to stand up. They have to come together and stand up. They have to stand up. It is very, very sad what they're doing to people. This discrimination is terrible. They're making the Guyanese life a living hell every day. And the people need to stand up. The people need to stand up That is the only way the government is going to stop the foolishness. Bye.
Anil, if you can get your mother to tell you the size of the brothel room in which you were conceived, I will get to tell you the size of the AP and UFC lodges. I'm repeating, so you don't think I'm making mistake. I know what I'm saying. Anil, Prasad, if you can get your mother to tell you the size of the brothel room in which you were conceived, I will get the size of the AP and AFC lodges. Right, Anil? I tell you something, I maintain I could go low, you know. I could go very low. Right? So if you think you're going to come and call me all kinds of names and I'm going to stay quiet, me not decent, you know. I from boxing background side. We got all types there. So let your mother tell you the size of the brothel room where she conceived you. Next voice note.
Mr. Amsterdam, good morning. Let me just say this clearly. I am with the WPA and I am with them 100%. Don't withdraw not one word from this statement. Statements were made about black people every single day, everywhere, all over, at any time, anyhow. And what? Because of whose mouth it's coming from, nothing is affecting anyone or it's not important. But let me say this. We, the people of Guyana, the black people, the conscious ones, we.
Some of y'all ain't got no discipline. I'm going to block y'all and say I ain't taking call till I finish playing voice note. Y'all give me a chance, no man.
Are with you. And with the WPA. And they could say what they want. The PNC, for me, they gotta try there. And I am saying, and I'm seeing it, the WPA could go very far in this country. They could win the election. Because you know why? They are no nonsense and no nonsense set of people. If you're gonna lay back and take nonsense from people, they will love you at all cost. Excuse me. But whenever you want to speak up, they won't like you. And they will always see you as a threat to them. But let me tell you something. They could do and say what they want. It is what it is. People will be people, and you cannot stop nothing that is being said when it's the truth. And the truth will set us all, will set us free. Now, listening to Miss Ferguson there, you know, I really don't want to listen much to them when they speak. Because when they were there, and that same Miss Ferguson, I personally went there to look after a paid house, not a house, paying for it. They said they thinking or whatever. When you go there, the amount of push around you get as a black person. And you see the very Indians, them, they come in and get in it. So if they regularize a lot of those squatting area for the people, it would be so good. Instead of that, you know what they went ahead doing? They went to area that they know doesn't vote for them and try to see if they could have gotten their vote by making them comfortable and leaving all the supporters a base. Till now, we just like how we are. Mr. Armand promised to come and do our road at Unity Street, Lagrange. Up to today, he hasn't done nothing for us. If you see our road, and they got a school right in the thing, but what? It's a black person business. So they're not interested until we get a disaster, then you can see them come running to do something. But man is a point and God is disappointed. Whatever they tell themselves they're going to do, I hope and I wish that they can do it. You understand? Because you don't always have a chance to do something. And when you have that chance, you have to utilize it. The new government could have utilized a lot of their whatever piece of time they had in fixing things for the African Guyanese. They never did. You understand? Yes, they did good things because we had some peace in this country, we had some integrity, and we had some other things. But then the main thing, your support base, your communities that are depressed, we're still in the same state because they never did it. They went to the other ones to think that they would have given them their votes. In Barbies, let them in all these places where they get these people. And what? They didn't give them their votes overwhelmingly. And we would try to put them back there and everything. We got what we got. So this is why many people can get moved from the place and all that because they never regularize it. You see many people going ahead and do regularizing the people play things and so. They had time they could have done those things. They did nothing. I see the guy who set a houses wasting in the back by Providence, the area there somewhere there. All them little houses. As a government, you know what I would do? I'd get poor people, let them go and live in it because they're right down there for rotten. You understand? And got people who would glad for them, think them what they didn't see in those things. As a government, you need to see those things and deal with it. They never did. So what today? You expect these other people to come and look after your support base like that when they never even think, they don't even have their heartless set of people. So there's the big story in this country, and these people are suffering. Black people kept suffering. Some of them can't even pay the house rent. Some live from payday to payday. You understand? So when they go wrong with the thing that I won't even eat from them, people can take it because people are hungry. People want $3,000 or $300, so if they give them $3,000, they can take them. So there's the problem in Guyana. We were pushed into this situation. We were forced into the African guy. We were forced and pushed into this situation. So what will they do? And what can they do at this point in time? Let's wait and see. Thank you.
Thank you for that voice note. I want to say this. I'm trying to get 2 other voice notes played. Let me see if I get them played and then I'll talk. Because I'll be wrapping up the program then. It's all well and good to identify and say how much push around you got under people like Annette, Ferguson and so on.
Good morning, Mr. Amsterdam. This current government is all about bullyism and not democracy or consultation. They don't have to consult with the people because they're above, they're superior to the people that put them in office and those that did not vote for them. This should be for every Guyanese, every Guyanese. They're not doing these things in their supporters' neighborhood, but they're going after the opposition supporters, and that is so unwise. People got to stop between themselves and stand up for their rights. Stand up for their rights. Go to the courts. Stop depending on others. You got to fight for yourself or lie down and let these people walk all over you. Stop being a doormat.
Good morning, Mr. Kadaki, Mr. Hines, and listeners. I think the main problem they have with Mr. Ogunsi's statement is the part where he said, if you turn the gun in the right direction, everything over. Now, when I heard that statement, I remembered an incident I was involved in many years ago. As a teenager, we were on the volleyball court about to play volleyball. That was in the interior. Some soldiers were on patrol. They were our friends as well. They stopped, and they started to gap with us. So one of the soldier friends, I asked him if I can hold his gun, which was a Beretta, and he allowed me to hold it. And in jest, I turned the gun on one of my friends, and his hand shot out like a piston, hit the gun upward, and grabbed it away from me. Right? And I had 2 lessons. He gave me a lesson after that. He said there are only 2 directions. If you're not going to kill somebody or threaten somebody, there are only 2 directions you should hold a gun. At an angle upward or at an angle downward towards the gun. And he demonstrated it with his gun. He says those are the 2 right directions you should hold a gun. And never point it at a person that you don't intend to kill. So when I heard that, the message I got from Mr. Gwynce's statement was that if the joint forces don't point the gun at the demonstrators, but hold it in the right, point it in the right direction, upwards at an angle or downwards at an angle, the demonstrators will be able to do their constitutional duty in the streets or wherever, and things will be over, right? So that's how I interpret the statement. Joint service, you can be out there while we are demonstrating, but don't point the gun at us. Point it in the right direction, either at an angle upwards or at an angle downwards towards the ground, and we will be effective, and the demonstrators will be effective in what they're doing on the streets, and everything will be over. That's my contribution.
Thank you for your call, and thank you for that clarification. Thank you for that lesson. Right? Because up until now, Ali and the others will not dare tell us what is the right direction Ogunsi was referring to. Right? They got to be mind readers to know what is the right direction Ogunsi was referring to. Anyhow, apart from that, I was saying it's all well and good for us to say when the coalition was in there, they didn't do enough for their supporters. Fair enough. It's all well and good to say black people get a lot of push around at housing and other ministries. Fair enough. Sometimes we have to take things into context, number 1. And number 2, sometimes we have to deal with things in its present moment. The coalition didn't do enough for the supporters. They weren't pushing us off of lands that we own. They weren't firing us. They weren't being discriminatory to us. Well, yes, they were discriminating us, I can say that. Because in every society, you're going to get some level of discrimination because decisions have to be made. Making a decision in itself is discrimination, but it's not always malice. So they weren't being malicious to us. In this era, not only is the government not doing anything for us or doing enough for us, they're pushing us off of what we own. They're being maliciously discriminatory against us. So I'm saying, it's all well and good to point out the weaknesses of the coalition. But it is also well and good to recognize the difference of what you're dealing now. The coalition was in government, they didn't have access to oil money to improve the lot of the people at the rate at which this PPP can improve the lot of the people because of the resources they have. Sometimes you look at people's intention and you judge them on that. The Granger administration said, we are not going to just give people a piece of land, we are going to develop communities to people. So when they're moving in comfort. Some of these very schemes that were laid out, that were planned and proposed, this very scheme I'm talking about at the back of Annette, the very scheme at the back of Vigilance, are 2 schemes I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that were planned under the coalition administration. I am positive that by now, what exists at the back of Annette would have been a well-developed scheme with proper roads and infrastructure and everything. The people who live in there now can tell you. They have roadways. They don't have roads. There's no water from Guyana there yet. I think they have solar street lights, but they have no electricity in there yet. If the coalition had access to the kind of money that this current PPP government had or has, I am saying that those schemes would have been completed by now, well advanced in terms of infrastructure. It's not what exists now. In terms of the bureaucracy of these ministries, I've heard some stories and sometimes I'm ashamed to talk them. Right at the Ministry of Housing right now, since the PPP took office, and my belief it was happening before, and that is why certain people are having an ease. It is alleged that housing officers at the ministry looking like you and I are taking money from people who can afford it to allocate other people's allocation to them. In other words, switch allocation and take the money and switch allocation. And so if you don't have money to partake in this scheme, this gangsterism, this corrupt practice, you are left for later. And they're doing it against their own people because what? When you look in this society, who got access to money? Or who has greater access to money? Ain't no Guyanese. And so the Indian man can walk in and work a corrupt deal and get 2-3 plots of lands. While the black brother or sister struggling to even find money to pay for the one that he has been allocated. I have a personal friend who experienced that. And so sometimes sometimes it is not always the political head of the agency. I mean, the buck stops there. But sometimes it is not always the political head of the agency. Some of us are downright wicked to each other. And it's a selfishness. It is sickening. Some of us are so selfish that, we can't even consider what we are doing to ourselves as a people. So it's not every day you can get on this program and cuss Annette Ferguson or Patterson or Winston Jordan or some former minister of the coalition government. Because I know for a fact that the people looking like you and I who were sitting in those ministries doing wickedness. I've always said for a long time that one of the biggest challenges the coalition government had in executing any plan it had was the fact that the middle management of many of those ministries and government agencies were PPP representatives. That was one of the biggest challenges. They were PPP representatives and they were gatekeepers to the PPP. And in all fairness to Granger, he wasn't about getting rid of people willy-nilly like the PPP is, getting rid of people from their jobs. And so they had a right to work. He kept them on the job. But did they do their job? They did what David Hines and I are asking people to do right now. Undermine the government. They were there undermining the damn coalition government. And everything was in a bottleneck. How you think that PPP was getting information about this and that and the other, what the coalition was planning, what the coalition was doing, and what to run to court and challenge and all of that? Nobody was coming off of the road to get that information. It was people in the system. And many of them look like you and I. Let us not be fooled. Sometimes we have to be real in our assessments of situations. Yes, I maintain that the coalition perhaps could have done more and should have done more for communities that supported. But it is also true to say that the coalition was a fairer government in that it was trying to do more across all communities. Hopefully, we have learned lessons. And I dare say that tomorrow the coalition gets back in government, they should be able to do for all communities simultaneously because the amount of resource that is available to us. You know what I tell people on a regular? Right? I tell people this on a regular, whether they like to accept it or not. If I were in the PPP, if I were an influencer of the PPP, nothing like the coalition could have come back in government. No other political party could have come back in government except that there were term limits. Because with this kind of resource, I can develop this country, every nook and cranny of this country. And everybody can be happy with me as a government. And I don't have to discriminate anybody to put them out of political business, if you call it that. The PPP has a glorious opportunity with the kind of resources to develop this country and develop it across every sector, across every community, fairly and justly, and give everybody equity and fairness and justice. But instead of doing that and making it easy for them politically, they rather oppress people and steal and corrupt election to stay in power. With this kind of resource, there's no need for the PPP to be vindictive to people. There's no need for them to be oppressive to people. Except that they're a racist criminal cabal. You telling me if they use this resource and they give public servants decent wages and salaries and they promise that they will continue to look out for their interests by giving them decent wages and salaries, and they give every community decent infrastructure, and they look after the socio-economic well-being of the citizens in a just manner, you think anybody got time to try to put the PPP out of office when they're certain that they're enjoying, quote-unquote, a good life? But no, the PPP, they set up political dunces, racist criminals. And so they rather oppress you. They rather pay money to external agencies to rig elections and punish the people. Victoria, we're coming your way. WPA is coming your way on Sunday. 5 o'clock meeting at Moravian Street in Victoria, Milwaukee Road here. Join us at that meeting. Listen out for other meetings. Hansgrove, we're going to be coming your way. Melanie, WPA will be coming your way. But this Sunday, come out to the meeting of the Working People's Alliance at Moravian Street. Moravian and Milwaukee Road, Victoria. 5 o'clock. The WPA is on the move. We bring in messages. Y'all come out and listen. Thank you for tuning in to the Guyanese Morning Time. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you to former Minister Annette Ferguson for sharing time with us. And join Dr. Hines tonight for Politics 101. Join me tomorrow morning for another program of Guyanese Morning Time. In the meantime, between time, I want to say shout out again to this talented composer who has given us our own theme song, the Guyanese Morning Time. I truly appreciate the effort. And that is why I am always convinced when I say this is a people's station. It is you. Not only do you encourage me when you show your love in this kind of way, when you support financially and otherwise, but trust me, you give me new energy when out of the blues I can get something like this in my inbox and say, hey, this is to the station. Guyanese Morning Time.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time.
Let me stick a pen and address Annette Elias. She's saying that she misses Saturday Rhythm And all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Listen to me, Annette. I miss Saturday Rhythm too. I would love to do Saturday Rhythm, but we gotta do better. We gotta do better. I'm not going to come here every morning or every day and harp and say, well, people are not contributing to the financial upkeep of the programs and so on. I simply would have to exercise my option to do or not do. And that is the case of Guyanese Morning Time. If you guarantee me, that is the case of Kams Saturday Rhythm. If you guarantee me, you folks, that when I come on Kams Saturday Rhythm, each of you who are viewing will put $2 into the cash app, I will come. Right? Otherwise, I will continue to do just what I'm doing, use my time to earn some money outside of doing Kams Saturday Rhythms. Because I gotta live. I got bills to pay, I got a studio to maintain and so on and so forth. Some people every now and again, somebody sending me a message, how I could make the studio look more professional. But they don't know the cost of making the studio look more professional. And these are things we have to consider. Right? I'm not trying to insult or stone anybody. I'm just being real. I am always real. Good? And so that's a consideration I have to take.
We're calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Kams TV. Rare wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea. Where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see. Sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, which has ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. They got Brickford, Bork and Mark Benchcop. David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam. Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London. Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor. Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson. Hampton Green and Winston Jordan. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese morning time. The people calling Guyanese morning time. Rhythm, rhythm, Guyanese morning time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Quindon Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.